Hello folks, it's Winston George Tannis, once again Dr. Winston George Tannis. This is another special WG TV broadcast, and I'm going to speak to you about, for a political historian and political scientist like me, the evolution of social welfare structures in North America and across the world. And I will tell you, it's a very important subject matter, even though this is going to be a very personal autobiographical statement, so you understand my own experience with social welfare and a social safety net, and why, as a political and diplomatic leader, I support different forms of public apparatus, a social safety net, as some have termed it, and my experience in it as a provider and accommodator of those on social assistance, having been a social assistance beneficiary in my own life. So I'm certainly not one of these hard conservative type of folk who believe in wiping out stuff on a Darwinian model of people making their way even through rugged down cycles. I believe in a social safety net. A social safety net helped my mother and I and our small family survive the devastation of my father's premature death when I was 5 years of age. And my mother was a Lebanese homemaker who had a poor command of even the English language in 1970s Canada, the early phase. And she benefited from access to public education, so she could learn the basics to run her family in an English-dominated North American jurisdiction. And because of the devastation upon our financial circumstances, I benefited from public medicine, including public dentistry and public education at the secondary and elementary school levels. And as part of our family adjusting to that devastating event upon our life, and through non-governmental assistance, nice Christian folk, by way of example, helping the early widow manage her young family, we benefited from those graces as well, and worked our way out. I mean, a social safety net isn't there to be relied upon for a life unless you really need it on deserving terms. It's there to catch you and to break your fall, and so that you can get back on your feet. It could be a phase of unemployment, it could be a phase of economic devastation of another kind, and suddenly you're still able to access health care services and income providing programs. I've turned this into part of one of my adult professions. I'm not merely a consultant and with a strong legal background and as a barrister and solicitor, judge and mediator, highly trained as I am and licensed in many respects because of mediation and arbitration as new professions with a new kind of regulatory system. I've been providing rooms for rent as part of my real estate operations and management skills for several decades, and that doesn't just include people who can easily afford. In fact, I'm known as a low-income provider of accommodation, and I haven't just taken on asylum seekers in North America with lower income levels, as well as persons entitled to social assistance on mental and other health grounds, including physical. And because of the size of my operations, these aren't great big apartment buildings, they're much smaller residences of mine. I assist these people along with professional public social workers to maintain the basic necessities, to stay out of states of desperation, and to find ways to smartly and through hard and intelligent work continue to integrate into North American society. 70, 80 years ago, that kind of thinking might have been viewed as communist or excessively socialist. But really, it's part of a functionalism in North America and among both the Canadian and American governance apparatus. I'm not shameless, but I do admit to you, without shame, that I was, and my mother was, and our small family was, a beneficiary of a well-structured social safety net, governmental and philanthropic, and through Christian and other religious wings, where people help folk out, including a widow with, for example, I was 5 years of age and in kindergarten at the time. And that net broke our fall. And I will tell you, as a political and diplomatic leader, I'm happy to have been a beneficiary. You might say I have first-hand experience with it. And now into my adult life as someone who did get back onto his feet with his family, helping others going through these transitory and longer phases of need for social assistance to make us part of a just and dignified and wise society where each neighbor is concerned about the other while doing their own thing, and making sure our society stays safe through these intelligent social structures. So I'm very happy to speak to you about that and to let you know, as the head of Constituting New America, Beacon Watch International, these are daily concerns of mine, and I will always support well-designed, well-managed, effectively designed, not just efficiently designed, and with costs in mind. Surely, a political leader has to be concerned about an institution not being well run, but you've got to be able to balance both monetary cost effectiveness with the effectiveness of a program and an institution that has to be there through all cycles of demand upon a social welfare system, whether it's providing education or income support or career building or rebuilding support, etc. So I hope you'll support me on that, because I'm not going to budge. It's always going to be part of my political and social and economic program for New America, for America, as the president in development for 4 or 5 years from now, when I hope to take the reins over from President Joe Biden, who's done such a terrific job in the last 4 years managing the economy and the social and innovation apparatus of America, that record is likely to give him a second term in office. So I'll be the one succeeding him in that period ahead. And this kind of thinking is going to be part of my work with the new Asia League and all Asian states, our friends from North America and long-standing allies on many things, and that is the truth of our foreign affairs programs since at least the 1950s and 60s. And of course, it'll be a serious part of my rebuilding efforts in Gaza once I can secure the peace. And as head of the new Levantine Commonwealth, which will be organized so that members of pluralistic Levant, the Levant region, will be at the Executive and People's Assembly table and seats, providing their views on the Orthodox Christian and Orthodox Jewish and Palestinian Sunni Muslim and Lebanese Shia Lebanese and Syrian Alawite and Christian and Armenian, let alone Armenian Lebanese perspectives, to make for a wonderfully managed Levantine region through a duly sensitive, ambitious, and modern new Commonwealth, which I've termed the new Levantine Commonwealth within the new Asia League. And this Commonwealth is to be supported not only by the Commonwealth of Nations and the Francophonie, but the American and Chinese governments, the new Asia League, and our friends and supporters across the whole of the Organization of American States and the African Union, as a celebration of the UN Charter in application to secure the peace finally and in enduring manner in Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan as a Levantine region deserving of the world community's support to put in place an infrastructure of peace and security, not for a few years, but for the next 100 years and beyond. So once again, this is Dr. Winston George Tannis. Thank you always for your listening ears. I hope you've learned something. I hope you'll learn to support me in my firm support for a very strong and advanced and modern social safety net for all, and not to be abused by anyone, but there to break a fall so people can get back on their feet and reintegrating in the economy and society on good and healthy terms for the benefit of all neighbors within North America, within the Levant region, and within the entire world order, properly led by the dignified, spirited terms and provisions of the United Nations Charter, that wonderful creation of the human mind to make us a smart world community, and each and every one of us, not just citizens of our locality, but citizens of the world. Thank you for your time.
The breeze blows and it rhymes for me. The breeze blows.